y'all, it's me Alex. Today I'm going to do a video on makeup I am distracting myself from buying. I saw this idea from MakeupStruggles' channel, and with a lot of new releases that have come out that I'm like vaguely tempted by, but know that I probably shouldn't have, that I shouldn't use my money on, and I already have a bunch in my collection. I think that it was time for this sort of video. So I'm gonna link her video down below, but basically her whole idea was using stuff in your collection to distract yourself from buying some of the things that are being released. Granted, there are a few items that, like, once I finish some of the items in my makeup wardrobe or things of that nature, that I probably will go out and buy, but those are things that are permanent, not limited edition, and maybe I just don't need them in this moment. So I'm just gonna get started. The first thing that I am distracting myself from buying is the Juvia's Place Warrior palette, which I'm gonna throw up a photo here or here somewhere. So I thought that that palette was absolutely beautiful, and I actually have convinced myself that I do want to make an order from Juvia's Place. I know that I had like a thing because I heard bad things about their customer service, but like screw it, their palettes are pretty enough that I'm gonna take the plunge and I'm gonna do it anyway. But I don't need this one. I don't know why I'm drawn to a neutral palette, and I know a lot of people are like tired of neutral palettes and are wondering why Juvia's Place gets a pass on neutral palettes. It's because they only really have the Nubian palette, which I do have. My friend Joy gave hers to me because she wasn't really using it, and I do really like that formula, and I do really want this one. I feel like it's so pretty, especially because it does have like a wide variety of shades, but only in 9 pans, so it's like all nice and condensed and pretty, but I really don't need it, but I really want it. So the thing that I've pulled out of my collection that I think has a lot of similar tones to it is the Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette, and I've noticed this because, especially because of the dark brown shade, because the dark brown shade was really what was bringing me into the neutral palette, because what gets me with a neutral palette is like if I can do like a really gorgeous like smoky brown eye with it, that's what makes me want a neutral palette, because I love a good smoky eye, as you can tell by my face. So I think this has a lot of similar tones like Haute Chocolate and Triple Fudge, and I also think like it has some of the more mid-tone shades. It also has a little bit of a pop of burgundy in there that the Juvia's Place palette doesn't necessarily have, and I also haven't used this palette in a while. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, I just haven't been using a lot of neutral palettes recently, but I feel as though if I'm going to like pull out a neutral palette, I should really dig into this one more, and this will be a good distraction while I'm trying not to— oh look, you can see in the mirror. There you are, hey! Anyway, it's not something I use a lot, but I think the fact that I don't use this as much is probably a good reason for me not to get another neutral palette that does have a lot of similar tones, but you know what? Every time that I consider wanting to go in for that one, I'm just gonna pull out this and see if I can convince myself one way or the other. So another release, I don't know if this is a new release or not, but I'm really interested in it. It's BareMinerals GenNude blushes. I don't know if they're new or not, but I was in Ulta like a week ago, and I walked by the BareMinerals area, which I usually just kind of walk right past because it's very neutral and pretty, but not my thing. But they had their entire line of GenNude blushes. And if you know anything about me, it's that I'm terrified of blush, but I love a neutral blush. It's bad. I love a good nude blush because I feel as though it gives a perfect color to the cheeks without being overpowering. It's gorgeous, and there were at least 4 blushes there that I really want, but they're like 20 bucks each. And right now I'm trying to go through my Tarte blushes because of Tarte, and I do think they're pretty decent quality, so that is what I'm distracting myself from with. So the first one that I'm trying to get through is the blush that I'm using today, and it is their little mini one in Party, because this is literally my perfect shade in blush ever. So I'm thinking what I might do after I finish this one, because this is my main one that I want to go through. The other one I don't care as much for, so I don't care if I finish it or not. This one I'm thinking— I'm pretty certain there is a blush in that line that has a very similar shade to this one, so once I finish this one up, I will probably head to Ulta and pick out one of the GenNude blushes, maybe even 2. And the other blush is more pink, and that's why I don't use it as much. It's their one in Dazzled. It's pretty, and I'm working on it. So those are 2 of the things that I'm distracting myself with. And I'm also using my Wet n Wild Color Icon blush in Rosé Champagne, because this is like the perfect warm nude blush that is like $4, and the Wet n Wild blush formula, I really like it. I know like they've reformulated it and some people don't like it now, but I do. I think it's pretty, and it's also a good reminder that like nude blushes are universal. Like you can get it from a lot of different sources, so I don't need to go out and buy a $20 nude blush. Or 4. Another nude makeup collection that I'm surprisingly interested in that I'm distracting myself from buying is the Sugarpill High Tea collection. Oh, it is so pretty. It is just this series of like 5 or 6 nude tone liquid lipsticks that look like they could be, you know, like they have a nude for everybody, I would think. Like they could go on a lot of different skin tones, and I think they're so pretty. I have Trinket by Sugarpill, and I love their liquid lipstick formula, and I think every year around summer I do kind of get back into the nude lipsticks, because usually like, well, the job that I'm working at right now, I work in the library, and I do have to be a little bit more toned down than like what my face looks right now for that job, so I can do the dramatic eye, just pair it with a nude lip. So I do think that like buying a couple of those would actually be a good investment for me. However, I do have to remind myself that my taste in nude lipsticks, I know that there's like a wide variety of nude lipstick shades, but I tend to go for the same thing, as demonstrated by like these 3 lipsticks right now. They look vaguely different, but they're very, very, very much the same. So I have a bunch of the NYX Lip Lingerie liquid lipsticks, which I think are a really good distraction because they're like $7, and it is literally just an entire line of nude liquid lipsticks. The formula, I prefer the Sugarpill formula to this one, but I think they're definitely really pretty. I have Exotic and Seduction, which to me are really good dupes for like Lolita and Lolita 2 by Kat Von D. I also have Lolita 2 by Kat Von D as another of my go-to nudish pink lipsticks. I don't know, I don't wear a lot of lighter nudes, but if I do want a lighter nude, I'm also trying to go through this Tarteist lip paint in Birthday Suit, which is surprisingly flattering on me. A lot of lighter nudes aren't very flattering on me, but this is one that surprisingly is. If Tarte didn't suck, I would have bought the full size of this. So I'm distracting myself with those because I do have to remind myself that I do have like a lot of nude lipsticks already in my collection. Like, I wouldn't hate myself if I bought 1 or 5 more, but I also know that I don't need 5 more. I might pick one up, like if I make a Sugarpill order sometime in the near future, because I'm pretty certain all of those shades are permanent. So if I make a Sugarpill order, I might pick up 1 or 2 of the shades. Right now, it's something that I clearly don't need to like rush out and make an order specifically for that thing. The next one is one that it is getting really hard for me to talk myself out of, and that is the Kat Von D 10th Anniversary palette. I was expecting a lot more, and the thing that is inside me that still wants to get it is simply the part of me that only wants it for the limited edition 10th anniversary-ness. I know in my heart and my soul that that is not a good enough reason for me to buy it, but I'm also just like, but it's Kat Von D. And I love Kat Von D. So I have some stuff in my collection already. I have like a combination of like 3 palettes that I'm gonna pull out. So the first one is also what I use to distract myself whenever I think about the Kat Von D Vida Loca remix palette, and that is the Urban Decay Full Spectrum palette. This is actually a really good quality. I know it kind of pales in comparison to the Mi Vida Loca, but I think it's a really good palette. The thing is, the Kat Von D 10th Anniversary palette, I was expecting a lot more from it because, quite frankly, to me, it does kind of look like a glorified rainbow palette. And that makes me really sad because, I don't know, I feel as though she can do so much in terms of color schemes, and I don't need another rainbow palette. I want more colorful palettes, but I don't want anything that is just rainbow, because I have that, you know, and I don't need more of that. But I think a lot of these shades can be used to dupe a lot of the shades in there, and it kind of gives me very similar vibes to it. I also think, because there are a lot of like pretty jewel tones in there, I'm going to use my Japanesque Velvet Touch Metals eyeshadow palette. This one has not been getting nearly enough love from me. These shadows are genuinely really, really good. This palette just kind of hides in my collection. It's really good quality, so I think in terms of me distracting myself, this would be really good. I do love the shadows, and the shimmers in this do kind of remind me of some of the shimmers that I've had in like Kat Von D palettes past. Like in the Serpentina palette, decluttered that one because a lot of the more cool tone shades were a bit muddy, but I found that the warm tone shades, especially the metallic warm tone shades, are like very similar to this one, and the metallic warm tone shades in that palette were part of the reason that I was keeping it around for so long, because I genuinely really did love those shades. And finally, the other palette that I'm using to distract myself is the e.l.f. Matte for Matte eyeshadow palette in Jewel Pop. I think that this also kind of speaks for itself in how it's distracting me, because it is, again, it's a lot of shimmery it's not a lot of shimmery shades. It's a lot of rainbow shades is what I actually meant to say. And it's very good because I like this, I like using this for like creases for when I literally only have like shimmery colorful shades and I want like not a neutral crease. So I think this is really good for that. And I also, you know, I feel as though these are very, very creamy. They're not quite Kat Von D creamy pigmented shadows, but I think they're close enough formula-wise, at least to me and my experience, that they do kind of make up for that. So that is how I'm distracting myself from not spending, what, like $50+ on a 10th anniversary palette that is basically a glorified rainbow palette. Kat, I wish you'd put out something that I actually wanted for your 10th anniversary. And finally, the last thing that I'm distracting myself from buying is the Physicians Formula Butter Collection. Now, I think that this was actually a really good idea from Physicians Formula. I've never tried the butter bronzer before in my life. I'm very happy with my Too Faced Chocolate Soleil bronzer. With the way I do my face, I literally only need one bronzer ever. I own 2 bronzers, so like I'm extra for like the makeup that I need. But I think it was a really good move on their part to do that, because I know a lot of people really like that formula and they're putting in like highlighters and making it a little palette, and they have it in like a shade for light to medium skin tones and like medium to deep, which I think is good. I wish they could, you know, expand a bit more, but I think Physicians Formula in general needs to expand more. So I was seriously considering like going through all of the Walmarts near me and picking out the light one, until I realized that a lot of the shades from the light one actually look a lot like my Anastasia Beverly Hills Sugar Glow Kit. I know it's not exactly the same. I know that the bronzer is matte and these are all shimmers, but I think Butterscotch is, like, in terms of lightness, maybe just a tiny bit lighter than the butter bronzer itself. The tones of the highlighters that were in that palette, the highlighter blushes, were very similar to what I was finding in here. And I already spent $40 on this. I don't want to have to go through the stress of like going to every Walmart and trying to find one. And I do genuinely really like this glow kit. This is really great. I haven't used it in a bit because I've been like obsessed with my Wet n Wild highlighter, but looking at my collection and like kind of looking in between this and the butter collection, I really don't need that, especially because I already have something that I love and I probably wouldn't use every shade in there. I've also heard that the butter collection is a bit more subtle, and if you've ever known me at all, you know that I am not a subtle person. So yeah, I'm just gonna stick with my glow kit instead. And so that is it for this video. That is all of the makeup that I am distracting myself from buying and all of the makeup that I'm distracting myself with so that I don't go out and buy stuff. And I'm gonna link to MakeupStruggles' video down below because I think she did a really good job. I think she had a lot more products in there than me, and also she's just a delightful person in general. So yeah, let me know down below if there's anything that you're distracting yourself from buying, any ways that you're like shopping your stash and all of that. And thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it and subscribe down below if you want to see more videos from me. And I'll see you on my next one. Hope you'll have a wonderful day. Bye.